Season 3, Episode 304 with Tim Ray. This is the Leaders Inspire Leaders in iTunes What's Hot Top 100 podcast for us millennials to give you a voice. I am Coy McDermott, ex-corporate American turned lifestyle entrepreneur, where each week I will be bringing you inspiring stories from leaders around the world, as well as answering your burning questions. So let's get started on the journey now. Welcome back, Leaders Nation, to another amazing episode of Leaders Inspire Leaders. I am your host, Coy McDermott, and if you have not yet, don't forget to subscribe on iTunes. Make sure to leave a rating and review as well, as this continues to keep us at the top of the charts, continues to keep us as an iTunes Top 100 podcast for millennials. In last week's episode, we discovered the undeniable way to build transferable skills, what you need to build a massively successful application, and the extraordinary way to get funding to build your application empire, and so much more. If you have not yet, make sure to have a listen to that episode right after this one. And on today's episode, today is all about intentions and setting great intentions. So on today's episode, you will learn the profound way to say goodbye to analysis paralysis for good, the effortless way to create, track, and manifest your passions and intentions, and so much more. Let's listen in. Welcome back, Leaders Nation. And sure, you see the smile. And the reason you see the smile is because we have another amazing episode with another amazing guest. Today's guest is Mr. Tim Ray. And let me read his quick bio. So after receiving his BA in business management and psychology from the University of South Florida, Tim began his career as an entrepreneur in the nursing home industry. He worked with several different companies until he opened his own business, Golden Home Services, in 2003. Even with a strong vision and mission, Tim found the hardest work by far was keeping a positive, powerful focus on how he intended to live in the present moment. Therefore, in 2009, he founded the United Intentions Foundation, a nonprofit 501c3. So, Tim, just like I'm sure everybody else out there, we all kind of struggle with, kind of setting intentions and staying positive. So I cannot wait to dive into that. But before we do, in its purest form, how would you describe yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. And before I do, I just want to say one thing, Coy. I want to thank you for having me on. And two, I really believe what you're doing with Leaders Inspiring Leaders is so needed at this time, at this juncture in our life right now. There's so many dynamics of going on in this world. Capitalism is really, and entrepreneurship is being attacked on so many different levels. And to give hope to the millennials and people who are now just getting in, because to me, what's synonymous with entrepreneurship is creativity, is the individual creativity, Yeah. So I just really want to praise you for what you're doing, and I'm a big supporter and a big fan of yours.
Thank you. Thank you.
But to your question, in the purest form, what would Eckhart Tolle say? I am the teacher. I am the student creating the teaching. So
nice.
But not as abstract as that. I would say for myself, my purest form, Tim Ray, I'm really more of a creative maverick who really has this unnatural drive to want to solve situations, fix things, improve other situations, better raise people's situations up to whatever degree their potential is. And that's innate in me. And I find that where it's effective in my businesses that I started in the past, effective in my just my philosophy, my relationships with people. And so I think that's really probably the core part of who I am. But did you say ask what I'm doing now, or what was your question?
Well, really, in its purest form, how would you describe yourself? And I think that you definitely did a really, really great job of describing yourself. Sure. And when it comes to, I guess, your business, right? Because you've got this nursing home business, and nursing is something that is extremely near and dear to my heart. I've got so many nurses in my family. My mother is actually a nurse for over 20 years. So, really, what inspired you to start that nursing business?
Well, actually, I've been in the nursing home industry probably for about 20 years. And the last 10 years ago, I started my own home healthcare company. But back in the old nursing home industry, I was a college student, and I was living in Florida, just got my real estate license, graduated, and working as a mental health counselor at a psych unit just for to make some quick money. And I said, what am I going to do with my life? So what I did, and I even wrote it down, Corey, this is really a true story, and we're working on a book to put it in too, is that I wanted to be challenged. I wanted to use my management degree. I wanted to use my experience that had been built up. I wanted to wear a suit, I wanted to put my business suit on and be a businessman. And I wanted to have these experiences. And so I would run around the block of my shady neighborhood where I was, because I really couldn't afford much. And I would intend and create and expect and all the ingredients of manifesting your reality type stuff we could talk about later if you want.
Sure.
What I want to be doing. I didn't know what I would be doing. All I know is I want to be challenging myself and growing and inspiring and being involved with interacting with people. And boom, I get this call from friends I met in Daytona Beach when I was over there, and they said, "Come on up and get into the nursing home industry. It's a great entry level position. Get your license, become an administrator." And I'm like, wow. And I really didn't step into a nursing home at the time. So I mean, I've worked with my elderly folks before and I've been around that, but I really didn't have that full on experience going to nursing home. And some people could be a little bit of a shock when you first go into a nursing home.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so I got in and I just took to it like a, fish in water. And I just kind of rose up the ranks. Became an administrator and became a regional director from there, and then eventually a vice president of operations, about 30 nursing homes and assisted livings around the country. So that was my drive. And then, but at the same time, I learned to really love the elderly and what's going on and appreciate, because now I think my maturity just probably ran up 30 notches when I became an administrator, because you're around, all you are around is older people, elderly people. And so you kind of just becomes part of your life and you don't even realize it,
Yeah. So as you're going up, you're kind of climbing the ranks at this nursing home, and then you stepped out and you started your own home health business. So right. What was one of the biggest challenges that you faced when you started your home health business?
Well, another true story here. I had three challenges, and when they say in your life, the worst three experiences you could have, stress experiences you could have, are when you buy a house, when you lose your job, or when you get divorced. And I had all three in a 6 weeks period.
Wow.
I was the CEO of the company I was working for as VP of Ops. We had it kind of out over after a while, and it was the point where I had to go. And so basically, he says it was a layoff, but I really was basically fired, or I was asked to leave. And so at that point, I was in the middle of getting a divorce. Just bought a house too, and I ended up living in my buddy's unfinished basement. I had two small children at the time.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I'm looking at this unfinished basement. I'm like, how did my life go from here to here within 6 weeks? How did this happen like this?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. I said, I was looking around the room like, what am I going to do? And I was either going to go one direction or the other. I was either going to go down into the pits of depression and despair, or I was going to grab my bootstraps and figure out what I'm going to do. Now I could have went and got a job working for the man, and I did get some part-time work, but I said, you know what, this is my opportunity. Sure. This is my opportunity to do my own business that I've been wanting to do. I've been preparing for a long time, unconsciously, and I'm going to make the shot. So I typed up a business plan, put it all over the unfinished walls of the basement down there, and worked on, at that point, tried to gather money up, and I actually did. I actually went to Kennesaw State University, which is this university in Georgia, where they have a continuing education where they teach kids on nursing and things like that. And I went to the program coordinator and I said, I said, I have this senior management program put together when I was a nursing home administrator. I want to be able to teach this and present this to your students and blah, blah, blah. And she said, no, I don't need that. What else you got? I had nothing else, right? Coy, I had nothing else. Yeah. So I had to do my little tap dance, like, what do you need? And she said, well, I need a certified nursing assistant course. I said, okay, I'll put the best certified nursing assistant course you'll ever see in the history of Georgia. And I'll pull in, hospitals, everything. Because I had a lot of connections at the time because I just got out of that situation.
Yeah.
I said, but can you pay me like $1,500 up front?
Sure.
Because, normally it's on the after the fact. But she said yes. And it's to this day, it's the number one certified nursing assistant course in the state of Georgia. And it's promoted through the group that actually approves all the courses. They refer to us as number one. And I got that seed money, and I started my home care business called Golden Home Services, and I was just a one-man band, and I started going out, and I'd get home, at 1:00 in the afternoon, sit down in front of the TV and say, oh my God, what am I going to do here now? I did a few things. I can't do anything else. So I'm like, okay, I could go back working for the man, or I could just continue running the risk here, still spending my seed money I had and other monies I saved, and just go with it. And I decided to go with the latter. And 10 years strong. It's a multi-million-dollar business, and I'm not even running anymore. I stepped down a few years ago. So
perfect. Yeah. So I want to go back to the biggest challenge that you had, because you, of course, spoke about how you essentially had this trifecta, right? You were going through a divorce, you ended up losing your job, and you had just purchased a home. And we're talking about these three huge stresses, right, that are on you. And an interesting thing that I can personally attest to is there's generally these life kicks that we get. But we generally get these life kicks after we've been nudged several times to do something. And I think whenever we come up with that, those challenges, for example, we feel that fight or flight. But there's a third phase in that I don't think a lot of people think of, and it's freeze. Right? Because you can either run, you can fight, or you can freeze. And a lot of us stay frozen. Yeah. So what kind of advice can you give for an individual out there who might be frozen to get unstuck, to get out and start moving?
Sure. And I know a few really potential entrepreneurs who are caught into that as we speak right now. I call it analysis by paralysis.
There you go. Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're doing is it's kind of like similar to when you get up in the morning and you decide, okay, it's a brand new day. I've not drawn or wrote anything on. I can do anything I possibly want. And so all of a sudden in your head, you start going through, okay, well, I want to get this done. Okay, I want to go get that. I want to go down the store. I want to go pick up the kids. I want to get it. And all of a sudden you have this mental list, 15, 20 tasks strong. And now you just sit to the point where, okay, I got 20. I don't want to do it. I'm just going to go back way back. Who wants all these 20 things,
Yeah.
You just psych yourself out laying there in bed of thinking what you're going to, and so basically you just did exactly that. You analyzed this situation. Now you're paralyzed by it because you just overwhelmed yourself. And so interesting you asked that question because we'll talk about the site later on. But one of our trademarks or what we say about the site is creating the life you desire one intention at a time. So it really comes down to you got to put on these horse blinders and you got to say, okay, I'm doing this one thing right now, right here. Anything that all those other thoughts are going to be coming in my head are going to be coming in. I'm pushing them aside. I don't care if the house is on fire. I am just doing this one thing right now because once you do that one thing, Coy, now you're motivated. Wow, I just accomplished something. I could check it off on my list. And now, okay, let me now focus on number 2 thing. And then before you know it, 2-3 hours went by or a half a day or whatever your tasks were involved. And you're remotivated because you're getting things done and you're not sitting there in freeze mode, as you say, because you actually made yourself get up and move. It's like taking that one step in front of the other type of approach.
Of course.
But it's that simple. But I mean, I see it all the time. And I see more so like for entrepreneurs who really have that spirit and that creativity and that individual drive in them. And they will just then hear one person say one little negative thing about, well, the market right now, the economy's not too good. Maybe you should hold off on doing that. And then like, oh, and then just like you see their whole spirit just fall out in them. And I'll tell you, I am such a big opponent for not ever getting to that point where you want to take in data, you want to analyze it, but you don't want to be discouraged by it. It's useful information to use to get around things, but anything is possible. Anything is possible in this life. It's really a matter of up to your motivation and your belief in that.
Completely agree. And it's so amazing that you had mentioned, really just having that spark and that inspiration. And so many of us are waiting for that inspiration to hit us to move into action. And I have a confession or really a secret to tell a lot of you out there. And it is that inspiration is something that is fleeting and it comes and goes. It's unreliable. But the inspiration that you will get and that you can get and continue to stay in momentum is simply by getting started. Once you get started, that spark will come, that energy will come, that motivation will come, that inspiration will come, but it takes you getting started. Don't wait on it. Get started and allow it to come to you.
Amen. Because, that's one of my favorite quotes from Ross Perot, who was a mentor of mine back in the day. He's got a kind of a raw deal in reference to anybody gets in the political system, no matter what great things you might have done, you're going to get torn up. But one of the things about Perot that, this guy is a self-made billionaire, and you just can't become a self-made billionaire because, you're just lucky unless you inherited it. But self-made is a little different. But he said, and I always remember it, that he says, with his little bad regional accent, I don't care whatever is in front of me that I have to get done. I'm going to take on the challenge that I know I can't do at that moment. I know that's impossible for me to do. That's the job for me. And then he says that because he knows somewhere in the middle of that process, he's going to figure it out.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to know the solution, but he knows that the project for him, because then the payoffs are just tremendous. And then you just raise your whole level. Your soul is enlightened because you're taking on these challenges that you knew at the time in your belief system. It's the only thing holding you back is your belief system.
Yeah.
We could talk about subconscious beliefs later on as well, if you like, if we have time. But that is where you have to be. Like you just said, you just got to get started. Don't worry about it if you don't have the answer. Just get going, because whatever your normal direction you think you're starting out with your business or your idea, most likely it's going to take a 180-degree turn based on whatever environments or whatever the case. It may not, it may, but you got to go with where your flow is going with you to make you find your way. It's not just like, I have this idea, this is going to happen, and this is what's going to be. I mean, it may happen at that time. Sometimes it does. But more likely, it's going to happen is it's going to take you there, and then it's going to take you over here, and it's going to take you over here. And before you know it, you got something better than you ever expected or even appreciated in the past,
So you have to start with intention.
Absolutely.
And I think that this is an amazing segue into the United Intentions Foundation, absolutely, right? And the nonprofit that you started. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Absolutely. And this has really been my baby the last 3-4 years. And we're just now, literally, as we speak, we're still beta testing the site. So if any of your listeners want to get on, it's unitedintention.org, unitedintentions.org. And you could actually help us beta test it. But basically, I got to the point in my life running the business and I had to stop watching the news. All this negativity were hitting me. And I was getting physically depressed. I was physically getting to the point where, I was questioning myself and I was questioning my spirit, because I always would go forward and figure it out. And then I was just getting bombarded over a period of time from everything, especially outside of our little worlds in the media world. And I had to pull back, and I said, okay, all this stuff going on with this, with the attack of the individual and the creativity, I said, I have to do my own thing. I got to be able to have something that's going to help me find my strength within myself. Yeah. And that's really how it originated from, was for myself. And United Intentions basically is a virtual reality, a 501c, it's a nonprofit virtual reality website that allows people to learn how to create, track, and manifest whatever their passions or tensions are at that moment. And we get into the process of dealing with that 95% of your subconscious beliefs, how to slow down, be still, and find your own intuition. Because when your conscious intention, like, you may want to have a Mercedes-Benz, right? But your subconscious mind is saying, hey, you can only have a Hyundai, okay? So you have two different people talking to you right there. And
get out of here, Hyundai.
But that person saying the Hyundai, his power is about 30,000 more times powerful than your power, because your subconscious mind runs 95% of your brain. So you really got to learn how to sync those, find out how you're sabotaging, what are you doing, saying to yourself, why you can't have that Mercedes-Benz. And a lot of it too, that I've been learning with the site, is that you learn to let the universe work with you. And what's nice is you're kind of like in Facebook in a sense that you're friending people who are you're liking their intentions and they're liking your intentions, and you're around very positive, high frequency thinking people, and you're sharing like we have health requests on there. We have acts of kindness. We have acts of love. And why it seems, that seems so kind of, feminine or whatever, but it's a higher frequency thinking. Sure. It's bringing that from that fear vibration to that love vibration. And you're putting into action every day, because you're sharing as when two more people come together in prayer or two more people come together in thought.
Yeah.
Much more powerful. Now we have quantum physics now, Coy, is supporting just that. Dr. Bruce Lipton was on our show, on the Good Intentions show, and he just exactly what he talked about. You need to check it out. He talked about how we have scientific proof where our cells, we know they're communicating with our thoughts are communicating outside of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And there's a physical property going on. So, but that's the site, and you have an opportunity to come in, create these intentions. You also have opportunity to watch webinars, watch movie night. We have movie nights where people's avatars are on. You can watch movies with people that you meet. You can friend people. You have the opportunity to get on the radio, get on the radio show, things like that. It's like a whole community for these higher thinking, higher believing, like-minded people that you can attract to raise you up in that vibration, as Bruce Lipton or Einstein would say.
Sure. So I've listened to a few things, of course, from yours, and definitely have read some books from Dr. Bruce Lipton as well. And one thing that I have noticed is there's always this talk about vibrations, right? And like this higher vibration versus lower vibrations. And if I were to kind of break that down in the way that I see it, the way that I kind of understand it, it's the higher vibrations are kind of coming from positivity, and the lower vibrations are coming from negativity. How can we begin to change our vibration so that we can set good intentions?
Great. And one thing is, because what we're finding out is that our thoughts, our frequency, like it's our state of being, really. And Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this too. Our state of being is basically we're kind of vibrating each person vibrating at a certain hertz, let's say. And it's based on our state of being. Now, and higher and lower frequencies, probably not as accurate. Talking to Dr. Bruce Lipton, he was more so it's different vibrations, because it's like we're dialing in on the radio channel. Okay. Over on the left is negative, over on the right is positive. And you want to dial your antenna, because each of your cells has the brain, like, the preceptors are in the cells in the membrane, and those are antennas, and they're picking up on these vibrations. And so when we're around positive other people, there's an entrainment going on of that frequency of thoughts. So we're actually affecting other people. I don't know if you ever heard of the 100th monkey syndrome, but there's certain scientific experiments that now they're finding out what happened. And what was the common denominator? It was not that it was the human being, but it was consciousness. And they're finding out now that our consciousness is not contained within our little body. And one of the examples that he used was a great example, is that imagine your human being as a television set. And we have and our consciousness as the broadcast. I don't get too heavy here, but just in that sense, where our broadcast is tuned into our television sets, right? And so we're expressing ourselves.
Okay.
But when that television set's gone anymore, is the broadcast gone? Broadcast is still there. It's just waiting for another television set to tune into that broadcast. And that's why we're able to supposedly communicate our thoughts outside of ourselves. So a lot of it's being around, to answer your question, is being around other positive, like-minded people. Another thing too is to listen to your intuition. You got to go within yourself. You can't find your answers on the TV or watching late night with Conan and all the rest of the gang. Your answers are not going to be out there in the media fashion world. They're not going to be out there in the magazines and that. I mean, you do that for entertainment, have your fun. I'm not saying they're bad. It's just you're going to have to find within yourself your own answers. You're not going to find them outside. I mean, they'll trigger it, but it's all a reflection of yourself. So if you could go within yourself to say, okay, you know what? Today I'm going to hold this thought. Because just imagine if this is true, and there's no scientific evidence, but I love to hold on to this because it gives me a reference point in my mind.
Sure.
It takes 17 seconds to attract another like-minded thought. So if you're thinking negatively, you're going to attract another like-minded negative thought in 70 seconds, and then 70 seconds you'll attract another one, attract another one. Before you know it, you have a whole, you have a group of thoughts now becoming a belief system.
Okay.
And they say it takes 68 seconds to manifest thought. So purely, if your conscious mind is in sync with your conscious mind, you can be manifesting these things in 68 seconds. Most of us attract, I mean, on a given day, we have 70,000 thoughts a day. Out of 70,000 thoughts a day, 80 to 90% of them are either negative, repetitive, or actually harmful. This is the power of our subconscious mind. So you got to imagine everyone right now, waking up from the day they wake up to the moment they go to sleep, are being bombarded with negative thoughts. And that's why it behooves us to start turning these other thoughts into positive thoughts, because we already have this card stacked against us, because just the big way that human nature is been brought up by saying no all the time. And it's not an easy life out there for most.
Okay. So I've got to pause you for a second, because something that you mentioned was very thought provoking. And it was, we can manifest thoughts every 68 seconds. You mean to tell me that we can essentially manifest a thought or what we're thinking a little over every minute?
Well, I'm saying supposedly there's not scientific evidence on this, but at the same time, I think spirituality and science is starting to come together thanks to quantum physics.
Yep.
But let's assume what I'm saying is correct, that it takes 70 seconds to track like-minded thoughts and 68 seconds for that pure thought to manifest. But think about it. Your thoughts right now, you're creating all the time. You're making decisions that are creating. You're just not, a lot of times you're not conscious of it, subconsciously. But now the big thought, like I want the car, I want the new job, I want the right girlfriend, I want the right boyfriend, I want whatever it may be.
Sure.
Those I don't say bigger thoughts, but those perhaps more dominating thoughts in your mind. There's usually a big gap between subconsciously what you believe and what consciously what you believe. So, for example, you may be saying, like I said earlier, you want the Mercedes-Benz, and your subconscious saying you get the Honda, and then you end up getting an Accord. Halfway meets you there, you manifest an Accord out of the deal.
Sure.
So whatever the case may be, but when you can sync that, and the syncing is a knowing, like having a knowing that this is going to happen, and it without any doubt, and not that doubt's bad, just that when you don't have doubt, something's going to happen, you're going to manifest it like that.
How do you get to that knowing? Because that's the important part.
Absolutely. One thing we do on the site, we created what's called the intention scale. And on the intention scale, it actually measures your present belief, where you are, your present belief, with knowing that it's going to what's going to appear in your life. And there's only 4 or 5 things. You got definitely not, you got not likely, you got maybe, you got definitely, and then likely.
Sure.
Or definitely, likely, then definitely. And so every day you go on to you write your intent, you create your intention. And it's like an affirmation. It's in the positive, because your subconscious mind only understands the positive moment, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so you put it in there, and it's a sentence that you can revisit, and then you associate. We work with Pinterest, so you associate vision boards with it. You associate pictures and videos with it. So now you're stimulating your neuropeptides in your body, and you're getting that visualization, so you're more likely to know it. And Dr. Dispenza, Joe Dispenza, said there's 3 principles in creating this thing, or having the placebo effect, or positively. And 3 principles, when you have these 3 things together, you will believe it, and you will be at that knowing state, that state of being. First one is repetition, conditioning. So on the site, you're able to go back and view it as much as you want. So the second thing is having expectancy. You got to expect it to happen, meaning that, you like for example, it's easy to say when somebody's about to lose a job, right? That they say they didn't lose their job yet, but say some of their friends lost their job and say, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to lose my job. You end up getting an ulcer, you end up going to the hospital. And what happens is you never actually lost your job, but you kept saying over and over again, repeating yourself, I'm going to lose my job. You expected to lose your job because your other friends lost their job. And then the third piece is you give meaning to it. Give meaning to it, meaning in that situation is that you actually, I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to lose my kids, I'm going to lose my house. I mean, I'm really getting purpose and meaning to it. So those 3 ingredients, those variables, conditioning, or repetition, expectancy, and meaning, when they're perfect storm together, that's when you get to a knowing. Now, you can, a lot of times, you know it in a negative, in a nocebo effect, and we create a lot of negative things often. We don't realize it. But you could turn it around in the positive. We could create whatever you want. And so on the intention scale, you could measure that. Every time you go on, you say, where am I? Am I at a definitely? Am I at a likely? Am I at a not likely? And you'd be honest with yourself.
Sure.
It's your state of being that you're being honest with. And then as you go up that scale, the big experiment is well, am I going to manifest this intention that I've been working on? And then when you do, you click, I realize it. It goes down into your realized intentions, and you work on the next intention, or you work on multiple intentions at one time,
Okay. So let's say we start from a not likely, right? But this is something that we really want. How can we move from that not likely to, the maybe up to the likely to I know?
Great. I'll give you a great example. I picked a not likely because I wanted to prove the experiment to myself.
Sure.
And my son lost his wallet. He's 16, and he'll lose his head if his head's not on hooked onto his head, right? And he lost his wallet, and it was gone for like 6 months. So it could have been anywhere in this world.
Sure.
So I said, so let me create the attention for Tommy finding his wallet. And because I want to see how it could go on there. And what I measured was, and your answer to your question in a nutshell is, you got to kind of pretend like it's happening. You got to fake it till you make it. You got to say to yourself, okay, how would I feel right now if Tommy found his wallet? And what came to me, like surprise, excitement. Oh my God, it works. And all these thoughts. And every time I have a thought like that, because thoughts are physical properties.
Yes.
There's a chemical bonfire going on in my head with the biochemical reactions going on. It's the neuropeptides are going down to my body or my different cells, and they're responding differently. And as you know, in the biology of belief, our cells are directed by our thoughts and can rewrite brand new DNA never seen before. And the same process in this holographic world we live in, supposedly, or in our thoughts go outside of ourselves. We can train that with other people, and we're affecting people on that level too, because their antennas are picking up on it. So you got to kind of have that understanding. That's how the science behind, even though it might we know how the body works inside, but we don't know how thoughts work outside, but we know it does work. We just don't know the hows yet, but you got to assume science will catch up to that eventually. So I was to the point where every day I'd go, Tommy found his wallet. I'm so excited about Tommy finding his wallet. And I remember going up my scale. I'd be up, okay, not definitely. And there was no sign. I had no tracking. I didn't see anything like that. And I was up at I got to a maybe, and then I got to a likely. I never got to a definitely, but I got to a likely. And go and behold, a month later, no, it was like 3 weeks later, he comes running up to me and goes, Dad, you won't believe I found my wallet. It was in the poker room the whole time on a back shelf where you couldn't see it. And that's when I'm like, okay. It is. It comes down to, you got to be able to feel like it's already happened or it's happening at this moment. You got to put yourself in that present moment and see it with all the doubts of everything else going on. And that's when that knowing starts creeping in, and the doubt may not completely go away, but it's being minimized and minimized and lowering the importance of it throughout that personal belief on that, whatever that intention is.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So there's so much juiciness in this conversation. I mean, as soon as you mentioned the present moment, there was something in me that just wanted to, okay, well, how do we get into that present moment? And I just know that we are now getting low on time. And because of that, I'm sorry, Leaders Nation, but I want to make sure that we continue to keep this interview rolling. And trust me, I will bring Tim back so that we can dive into some of the higher level principles to intentions. And with that, Tim, let's quickly jump into the audience round. I know, like I said before, we don't have too much, so we can jump in very, very quickly. I'll put you on the hot seat. It'll just be really, really quick, rapid fire. I definitely have one question right now that I've got teed up, and it is, what do I do when I have the best intentions and things go wrong?
The road to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
Yeah.
The first thing you need to do is you got to remember your conscious mind. That intention is running 5% of your belief. So you got to get yourself still. I like to meditate. Some people like to do the stillness, whatever it may be. I get still and I pose the question to myself. What are the obstacles? And I don't have to have the answers outside of myself, but I know I'll find the answers within ourselves. All our answers are within ourselves. We're creating everything. We're creators, and all our answers are already there. We just have to still ourselves enough and be aware enough where allow those answers to come up, and then pose that question to yourself. What could be blocking me? And then whatever it is, write it down, type it in, speak into a tape recorder, and you may not get it right off the bat, but once you start practicing being still and putting yourself get out of the beta brainwave activity into the alpha and theta wave activity.
Theta. Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's when you start connecting with this source, and this energy flow that's within everything, and it's in everything. It's the quantum field, as Einstein calls it. And so that would be my first suggestion is and the second thing I would say to that person is, don't hold on to expectancy in the sense, I mean, you got to expect certain things, but don't hold on to a specific way it has to look in this detail. Hold on to you're going to expect it to occur, but however the universe unfolds in your life, because 9 out of 10 times, if not all the time, it's going to be much more than you even expected. So you got to have faith in the universe on that level.
Awesome. Awesome. Write your goals in stone and your plans in sand.
Yeah, so there you go.
You can allow things to, of course, manifest in the way that they will. So here we are. We're talking about quantum physics. And with that, will you step in a time machine with me, Tim?
Put me in. That's awesome. one of my dreams. All right. if I had my way, I'd be advancing in the future where I'd be flying around in a Starship Enterprise, traveling the universe and exploring all brand new worlds. So that's what I should be doing. We should be doing that as a society, and we're not, but that's where we should be.
I'm loving the Trekkie
vibe, right?
I'm loving it. So okay. So now we're in the time machine together.
Yeah.
What is one piece of advice you would give to a younger you?
Oh, God. I would say to younger Tim, let go of the expectations, the sand aspect of what you're saying, and go with the flow more. Go with the flow and enjoy the ride. Don't be so worried about how certain outcomes got to be a certain way. And remember that it's the people around you at that moment you're creating and you're attracting in your life. Don't take advantage of that. Give to them, and they'll give right back to you. It's a beautiful cycle. But I'd probably tell myself not be so self-focused and be more engaged with what's going on with me, and go with the flow more. That's what I would tell myself. And
what would be the one book?
Give more. Good.
What would be the one book that you would have the younger you read?
Oh boy. Oh boy. I'd have read You Are the Placebo Effect by Dr. Joe Dispenza. That book has transformed my life. Those are the 3 ingredients for manifesting, getting that knowing point, and it affects. And I'd have Biology Belief with Lipton right there. I mean, I could, that would be, at least the top couple of books, a lot of Dale Carnegie books, great books, I'll tell you. So,
there are so many books out there, Leaders Nation. And of course, Tim mentioned 2 of them. Head on over to liloffer.com. You can grab any of these books in an audio format because we know that you love audio. Again, liloffer.com for my free gift to you. Tim, before we finish up, I would love to give you a moment to tell us what you're currently passionate about right now and how the leaders can get in touch with you.
Great. Well, you get in touch with me by contacting unitedintentions.org. Go to the website, United Intentions. That's UNITEDINTENTIONS.org. And you could contact us. You have contact information. And also become a member. I'm a member. Friend me as a member. And we can start interacting. And we can start beta testing the site. And we can watch this thing grow because it's going to grow. It's going to grow fast. Timing is right now. And I'll tell you what, we're really pumped up about it. But to your question was, what am I doing right now? I'm really learning how to slow down and become more of a human being and balance my human doing side, because I've always been a maverick, probably such as yourself. And I, at my age, I've come to realize that, I really got to be able to, there's only so much I could create here, this lifetime here. And I really want to start enjoying what I've been creating. And that's kind of where I am. I'm sitting back and really smelling the flowers and enjoying what I have, enjoying the people in my life, and enjoying that aspect of it. At the same time, continuing with the foundation. This foundation is opening up to intentional businesses. We're going to go around and intentionalize businesses, aligning them with universal laws to where they can even become more powerful once they're in line with these law of vibrations, the law of attraction, and all of these things. Getting with the employees where their personal growths are aligned as well. They're getting something out of being in a business rather than just making money, So, and then education, UI education, we're going to schools and we're actually helping kids learn how to create their own reality from first grade on. So really want to empower people to learn that thoughts come first, reality comes second. Not that your reality creates your thoughts create your reality. That's the most important fundamental aspect to understand that, because that is the empowering aspect of our true nature of our world, is that we create everything.
There we go. So, Tim, before we let you go, what is one piece of parting advice that you would share with the Leaders Nation?
I would say what you're doing right now, Coy, is tremendous. I would say tap into, like, I'd love to get these. I'd love for you guys to get more involved with the Chamber of Commerce. I'm sure you already are, Chamber of Commerce's, and transform them, because they become dinosaurs. They're really not as effective. They're more like a little party level. They could be leading our way for new entrepreneurs of challenging the so-called system that are coming. I would say I'm now really into the activation, not so much an activist, but activating awareness of what's going on. Because if people aren't aware of it and we're just zoned out watching the news and watching this, we're caught into the matrix, we're not unplugged, then we're going to go along with the matrix. And the matrix is somebody else creating intentions for us. We're creating their intentions for them. It's time we stop and start creating our intentions. What's important to us. Unplug from the matrix and start creating your own intentions. Stop creating intentions for other people. And that's where I am right now. And my advice for you guys is keep creating your own intentions. Challenge status quo if their intentions are not in line with your guys' philosophy. And I'm not saying challenging in a violent or a way, but challenging in an intellectual and emotional way where you're going to motivate people, because they're just as susceptible as anyone else. They're not omnipotent. They're not knowing all, and they're not we have the ability to change anything we want to, collectively and individually.
Continue to keep those intentions, leaders out there, and head on over to leadersinspireleaders.com for the show notes and Tim's contact information. Remember, the highest form of leadership is inspiring other leaders. So be inspiring and stay inspired. Tim, thank you so much for joining me and inspiring the leaders of tomorrow.
Coy, thank you so much. And I love your program, and best of luck with everything. I know you guys are going to be making a tremendous impact out there in the world. Thank you.